a lot of speeches today. So let's take a break and have a training instead. And today, contrary to what the Toastmaster of the day said, today we are having a training session. So my speech will not be receiving an award, but I'm going to be delivering a speech from the Toastmasters Advanced Leadership Series. Now, what is the Toastmasters Leadership Excellence Series? First of all, let me create a background let me create a context on which I'm going to make today's presentation. Today's presentation will be resolving conflict, taken from the Toastmasters Leadership Excellence Series. What is the Leadership Excellence Series? Let me explain that to you. Now, Toastmasters is not only about becoming better speakers. Like the Toastmaster of the day said, we also train ourselves to become better leaders. So for every Toastmaster that is on the leadership track, on the training for leadership, the first milestone that you would attain is to become a competent leader. And to become a competent leader, there is a couple of 10 projects that you need to fulfill. When you fulfill that, you get a recognition called the CL. The CL means a competent leader. Now, after that, the next milestone would be to become what is called an advanced leader bronze. Now, to become an advanced leader bronze, there's a couple of things that you need to do. One of them is to pick from the Toastmasters series. You have the Leadership Excellence series, and you have the Successful Club series. Each of these series have 10 projects in them. To become an advanced leader bronze, you pick 2 of those projects from either of the series. So you could pick from the Successful Club series, and you could pick from the the Leadership Excellence series, and fulfill 2 projects within the series. When you fulfill those projects, they become one of the components to attaining advanced leadership bronze. So today we are taking one of the trainings from the Leadership Excellence series towards my attainment to advanced leader bronze. Can you please clap for me first? But why is this important to us? We've emphasized the fact that Toastmasters is a place where we become better leaders. But being a leader is not about holding an office or having a designation or occupying a position. Once you are in a position of influence, you are in a position where people look up to you. You could be in the workplace, you could be the head of a department, you could be the HRO, you could be the managing partner, you could even be a nanny. Because when you are a nanny, the children that you are taking care of look up to you and they will learn from you. Once you are in a position where you influence people or attain desired outcomes, you are a leader. So it is very, very important that you understand or you learn some of the skills and knowledge that would make you a good leader. Before we go into the training, I want to say 2 things. One, it's a training, so I expect it to be a bit interactive. And at the end, there will be time for questions and answers. 2, the reason why I'm taking the resolving conflict aspect is I'm building on what Toastmaster Aluko did in July. So Toastmaster Aluko in July, he had his 2 advanced leadership training skills. He conducted a leadership training in this club. Who here can remember what he taught us in July? Is there anybody that can remember what Toastmaster Aluko taught us in July?
We talk about team.
Yes, team building, building a team.
And
motivating people. So in July, Toastmaster Aluko taught us team building and motivating people. So as a leader, there will come a time when you need to build a team, and there will come a time when you need to motivate your team to achieve the goals that you have set for yourselves, right?
Yes.
Now, you've built your team, you have a goal, you are motivating your people, and you are working towards your goals. What happens when there is some form of conflict within your team? Now, the context I'm going to be talking may be in the workplace, maybe in Toastmasters, but you need to also understand that it applies in every situation that you find yourself. Like I said, you could be a leader elsewhere, anywhere. And you could walk down in traffic and speak to 3 last mile officials. You are trying to influence them. You are a leader in that moment, right? So how do you, as a leader, resolve conflicts when they happen within your team. Because get one thing clear, conflicts will happen. There are 3 things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and the fact that you will have conflicts within your team. So when conflicts arise, how do you resolve it as a leader, right? And conflict could arise in different ways or shapes. It could be a difference in opinion, it could be a difference in issues, it could be a difference in strategy, how to achieve what you have set for yourself. If those conflicts arise within your team, they have a way of hampering the success of your goal. So as a leader who is in charge of, for instance, a project, you need to get the skills necessary for you to resolve a conflict so that it will not impede the attainment of your goal. Like I said, okay, 2 people are fighting, but you don't need to get to this extent of bad blows before it becomes a conflict. Once there is any form of disagreement, whether it is opinion, it is a conflict, right? So a conflict is what you get when 2 or more people have differences, whether it is real or perceived, and you need to resolve them. So this training is about how you resolve, how you understand the reasons for conflict, how you resolve those conflicts, and how you move forward from those conflicts. As a leader, if you are leading a team, the first thing you need to understand is the type of people. Toastmaster Luko taught us how to build a team. Now, the type of people, the character of people that you have in your team, because these are the things that determine the type and extent of conflicts that you would have. So conflicts arise for a number of reasons. 1, contentious personality. Now, people are different, right? I can't be the same with Toastmaster Francis, for instance. People's personality is actually a very complex and complicated matter. And there's a whole number of things that determine the type of personality that a person has. It could be culture, it could be parenting, it could be the environment where you found yourselves, it could be the experiences that you have gone through in life. It's all these things that come together to create a person's personality. And people's personality differ from A to B. There are some people whose character can best be described as, for instance, know-it-all, right? There are people that they are Jesus, they know everything. There is nothing you can tell them. Their position is always right. So as a leader, overseeing the affairs of it, you need to know those people within your team that have that know-it-all character. There is the people pleaser, right? The people that they know is not in their vocabulary. Anything you tell them, it is yes, sir. Anything you tell them, it is yes, sir. And those people actually have the potential. You may see them and say, oh, this person, I won't have problems with them. But those people actually have a way of creating a conflict within a team, right? Take for instance, I was working on a particular project in my line of work, and there was this individual who, well, I would describe him as a people pleaser. He can never say no. And in the team, we had already agreed on how to execute a project for the client, right? We decided to go towards this direction. The client thought that we should go towards that direction. So within our team, we looked at the client's perspective. We thought it was better to do our own perspective. But it was this individual that was in charge of communicating with the client, right? So his job was to convince the client as to why we should go our way. But he cannot say no. When he spoke to the client said, I think you guys should go towards that. He said, yes. And when we came back to the team, it became a problem for us, because how do we go back to the client to change that position? So that created some kind of, it actually hampered the progress of our. So people pleasers, you want to identify them in your team first, and you want to put them in a position where they do not have so much authority, so that they will not be in a position to hamper any success, right? Another reason why there may be conflict in your team is misunderstanding. Sometimes the conflict is actually genuine. Some people do not have all the facts. Some people do not understand all the facts. Sometimes people need to understand more in order to avoid certain conflicts. So when there is a misunderstanding within your team, it could lead to some form of conflict, right? And it's not just a team. I was working on a particular case. This case had taken 7 years, 6 to 7 years in the Nigerian court system. And at some point, everybody got tired. We were like, this thing is too much. Let us call a settlement meeting and see how we can resolve this conflict. It was a conflict between a husband and a wife, and they were deciding how to share their property, the property they acquired during the course of the marriage. And this had taken about 6 years to determine. And when we sat on the table, within 20 minutes of sitting down, the wife said, wait a minute, I thought you were saying this. I thought all this while, this is what you have been saying. The husband said, no, this is what I have been saying. And the wife said, that is exactly what I have also been saying.
6 years.
Right? After 6 years, the fact that they now understood each other, that was how the conflict was resolved. Right? So sometimes conflicts could also be as a result of genuine misunderstanding of people's perspective. Another thing is issues. Sometimes people know the facts, they understand the facts, but they just disagree on how you should go forward. It's natural. There is nothing wrong with that. So as a leader, you want to be in a position, or you want to have the skills to bring those issues together and look for a way forward. Another thing that could actually cause a conflict is your style of leadership. You need to understand that sometimes you, the leader, may be the problem, right? So how do you avoid a situation where you are dictatorial or an authoritarian in nature? Or how do you avoid a situation where people ride on you? Because when people ride on you, they feel that they can undermine your authority. So you need to strike a balance. You don't want to be too hard, but you also want to be firm and assertive in your leadership style, right? So as a leader, you also need to compose and structure the type of leadership you want to. And this had happened to me in my line of work when I was promoted to manage a team in the office. And the thing with promotion is that it's a very good thing to be promoted, right? But the people that you were on the same level with, right, they'll be like, is it not you? So when you are promoted, the first thing you want to do is to mark your territory, right? You want to be assertive. And sometimes it gets into your head, unintentionally, right? You become the leader, or you become the manager that you were always criticizing with other people. And it's happened to me. I found out that at every particular point in time, I always presumed that people wanted to undermine me. And I'll begin to take steps to, you do this, why are you not doing that? Do you understand? And after, it created a lot of problems because I wasn't happy in the position, my team members weren't happy in the position, and I sat down one time, I reassessed. In fact, as a matter of fact, it was a junior in the team that called me and said, can I say something? He said, what? He said, I think you are the problem. Please explain. And she explained it, and she actually drew my attention to how the former head of the unit was handling the issue. We didn't like him, but she was able to point out those things that made him effective. And immediately I took that lesson. I have someone from Striker Partners, and I'm sure you can say that I'm a bit well liked now. So sometimes you need to understand that your style of leadership may be what is constituting the problem. Now, assuming you have a problem or you have a conflict in your team, how do you resolve it? What are the methods that you can apply to resolving those conflicts? Now, there are 5 general methods. One, you could ignore it. There are actually certain conflicts that you don't need to dwell on them. They are so small that you don't need to pay attention. They will ease off. So no need to pay attention to them. But you need to be sure that those conflicts are actually not important, because if you leave important conflicts, they fester, they grow, and they become larger. But as a leader, it is not every pin that drops that you will look for, right? Another way is to smooth it over, to look for a way to settle it. And it's good to smooth some of these conflicts over when they have to deal with issues relating to individuals in the team as against the common team objective, right? So sometimes your team members will not like each other, and they don't have to like each other. That's the bitter truth. You could be in a team and you don't like your teammates. You don't have to. So long as you are able to work together to achieve a common goal, you are fine. The goal of the team is more important than the individuals within the team. So if you are able to get your team members to understand that regardless of how you feel about each other, You must learn to work together as a team. You will be fine. Another way is to use force. Sometimes there may be need for you to make emergency decisions. And when I mean force, I don't mean to call the military and Mopo to come and arrest someone. That's not what I mean. Sometimes you have to exercise your authority as a leader. You have to be assertive and firm as a leader. When those times come, you need to know how to exercise your authority as a leader. Another way is to compromise, right? You could see what the issues are and get each conflicting party to yield their position. The disadvantage of this, now this is a very good way of resolving conflict, because the fact is the conflict is resolved. You get people to soften on their position. But the disadvantage of this is because you are eventually going to take a side anyway and get the other side to soften their position. Because you are getting people to forfeit part of their position, they have this loser mentality. In this whole fight, he sided with that person and he did not side with me. Do you understand? And that can be a problem. So you need to know when to get people to compromise. You need to know when to ignore conflicts. You need to know when to use your force. But the most important and effective way of resolving a conflict is by collaboration. Now I'm going to walk through the steps of collaboration. But generally, collaboration entails you, first of all, understanding, look, we have a team objective. We need to achieve this goal. We have this problem. How do we resolve it so that it does not impede our success? That is what collaboration is, right? And what are the ways of facilitating collaboration? You find the root cause. As a leader, you need to first be able to distill what the problem is. And when I say what the problem is, I mean that problem that would hamper your success as a team. It could be in the workplace, it could be at home, it could even be in Toastmasters, right? Toastmasters also have some form of conflict. Now, I know that there was a Toastmaster within this year that they had so much conflict that they had to suspend their vice president, was it education or vice president education. So conflicts would tend to happen. To create effective collaboration, the first thing you need to do is to find the root cause of the problem. People tend to distract from what is bothering them, right? Have you ever spoken to someone and when you leave, you'll be like, this person said a lot of things, but no be that thing they vex am. There is something they are not saying. Do you understand? So as a leader, you should be able to see through when people are masking what the real issue is. And by doing that, you have to allow people to speak, because it's when they speak that you are able to understand their perspective. You encourage all parties to listen, ask questions, understand. Like I said earlier, sometimes all you need to resolve a conflict is just to understand the other person's perspective, right? The fourth way is to identify areas of disagreements, identify areas of agreement. Because when you do this, you streamline what the issues are. No need to dwell on the areas of agreement. Just focus on where they disagree and look for a way to resolve it. Having identified the areas of disagreement, you search for solutions. And by the time you walk through step 1 to step 6, you would, as a good leader, you would have been able to identify what the possible solutions are towards resolving the conflict. And when you identify that position, you will be able to reach a consensus, right? And when you reach a consensus, it's always better for the team. So in summary, what I have said is that as a leader who has built a team, who has motivated his team to achieve a desired outcome, there will be conflicts. It's inevitable. There is nothing wrong with conflicts arising. What matters is how to resolve those conflicts. And if you want to be a good leader, it is very important for you to learn those skills and acquire those knowledge that would help you resolve those conflicts. That is the only way you can be a good and effective leader. Thank you very much. I'll just take the next 2 minutes to take any questions if we have any. Because it's a training session, the Toastmasters manual has encouraged me to give opportunity for people to ask questions. Yes, please.
much, sir. My name is Daniel Matthew. Sincerely, I don't want to appreciate you for your teaching, your training. It was indeed massive. I had a lot to write. Thank you, Toastmaster. My question is in the aspect of style of leadership. I see that that's one of the major factors that causes conflicts in organization. Like I used to think that you must follow my template, you must follow my organogram. So I want to ask, what if you're in a situation whereby your style of leadership is basically my own way, my own way. I have seen that is a weakness and it's causing some breakdown in the system. How do you manage it when you are balancing it, you are also egocentric and you don't want someone to undermine you, looking as though you don't know what as a leader, you don't have anything to say, or maybe so my question is that how can you manage your style of leadership when you see that is causing major breakdown in the system? That's for one. Then the issue of the collaboration. Assuming we are working in a structure whereby, before you came into leadership, there's some existing problem, challenges. Now when you come, you want to apply the issue, because you said collaboration is the best form of resolving conflicts. So how will you able to, when this other party doesn't want to listen, this other party they don't want to listen, how do you now manage this personality just to achieve a common goal? And you also don't want to lose them because they are vital to the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll take the first one, which I think has to do with style of leadership. And I said the first thing you need to do is first, you need to understand that even though you are a leader, you are a part of the team. So the team objective also is more important than you, the leader, right? You need to know yourself. You need to know that you are the problem, and you need to work on yourself. For me, what worked for me was that I received feedback, right? I received feedback from one of my team members, and naturally you will be closer to some team members than the others, right? There's nothing wrong with asking them, look, what do you think is the problem? I think you are the one, sir. Where do you think? There is actually nothing wrong from your junior giving you feedback, right? So if you have identified that you are the problem, I think that you have actually solved 60% of the problem, right? What you need to do is you need to then push back, look for where to correct yourself. And I think that would be better. The second question was about, sorry, I forgot what the second question.
How do you manage personalities?
Sorry?
Collaboration.
Okay, collaboration. How do you manage? You see, sometimes when you become, for instance, the leader of a team, you just come into problems. They're already fighting before you became a leader. How do you resolve that? And I think when you take the steps of collaboration, the first thing is to allow, for people to speak. When people are talking about what the issues are, even though you are new in the environment, you would be understanding. And I think if you have a sense to, or if you have a discerning spirit, you will know where to focus attention, you will know where people are genuinely aggrieved, and you will know the red flags, right? Sometimes you are thrown into a situation that you don't understand. You become like the sacrificial lamb because everybody is pulling you from all directions. But as a leader, you need to maintain that mental and intellectual composure for you to be able to distill the issues and pull parties together. And sometimes it may mean you throwing some people out of the team. That's the truth. Another thing is that as a leader, you have to make certain hard choices. And if pushing one person out of the team will help the team move forward, then by all means. And if resigning from your leadership position would also make the team move forward, that would also be helpful. So thank you very much. I know my time has been spent. Thank you very much for your attention.